This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to the dawn. Welcome to the morning here in the Sunrise Safari. Coming to you live from Djuma Private Game Reserve, where it is a beautiful and clear morning. It's a little bit chilly, but I'm going to look around for some tracks of lions coming in from the west. TRISHALA is going to go have a look at the hyena den. We've got TRICO out with MPHO out in Ambion and Gala. We've got JP and Glenn on foot in Eco Training, Pridens and Pete and Johan in and beyond Pinder. And on that note, I welcome you all on board your live African safari. Good morning and welcome to another sunrise, everybody. The start of another day, a beautiful day here in the woodlands of Djuma. How truly blessed are we to wake with the dawn, wake with the sun and the sunrise and the sunset. Hello everybody, my name is Steve, joined this morning by Darren. And as always, we are very excited to have you with us on board. And your questions and comments are incredibly valuable, important to us. And so please do send them through using the hashtag Wild Earth on Twitter. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream. Alternatively, go to the website and them on the live safari page, or send them through kids questions at wildearth.tv. And on that note, I'm just going to allow you to just enjoy a little bit of silence with the rising of the sun. let's go have a look at what the weather looks like across all properties. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beyond Ngala. So this morning, actually, we're looking for some lions. Last night, there were a lot of lion audio in the north of us. So my name is TRICO, and behind the camera, I have MPHO with me. So yeah, I think we're gonna start to head northerly direction and see if maybe we'll be lucky with these lions because they were calling quite a lot last night. So let's see if maybe we'll be lucky. And also, just talking about lions, as we're driving now, just came across some tracks of a leopard. Just want to see if maybe I can get to show you guys. And these tracks looks like are from last night. Doesn't look very fresh. There's already some birds that have already walked on top of it, like some doves. It's actually quite a tough place to see because the ground is started to get a little bit harder and harder. But let's see if we can find a sandy patch where I can show you this track. I'm just looking as well. Looks like she might have turned back. Just gonna quickly have a look here. Because the tracks that we had earlier on, she was actually heading that way, and now. Just looking here, just a tiny bit of the tracks because this ground is actually a little bit harder. She's going back again. So I'm trying to think if maybe she was hunting, but also we know that she has a den somewhere a little bit east of where we are. All right, I think I'm going to just turn around and see maybe where she has cut off. But also, on the eastern side of us, there's a very big clearing. And we know that some of, certain species of antelopes like that area. Like your impalas, they'll be in these open areas because it's much safer for them. They can see danger from afar. So these are the areas where the leopard could go. And hoping to catch some impalas. I think while we look for this leopard, I'm going to quickly send you over to JP. I think he wants to say hi.
Good morning and welcome to Wild Earth. We're live on Bushwalk at Eco Training Pridelands and just stumbled upon these giraffes. It's still very early in the morning, the sun has just popped up and they're already busy feeding. So a giraffe is generally quite busy and they spend up to most of their day, up to some 20-21 hours a day, but they're all consecutively feeding. We're just going to sit over here for a short while and watch them And meanwhile, my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Glenn. I'm just going to pan back straight towards them and look at what they're getting up to. It's actually quite special to see how they're busy feeding at the moment. And what I would like to point out is how they are using their tongues to actually strip the leaves off these thorny plants. I've got quite a few little interesting adaptations that they have to deal with these incredibly thorny plants, which would stab into their mouths if it wasn't for these adaptations. And one of them is a very unique type of saliva that just deflects the thorns straight off the tongue and prevent them from stabbing into the tongue. The other is that thick leathery lip. And thirdly, every lady's envy is those beautiful eyelashes, which is also there to protect them against thorns. If we look at thorns, they're simply a strategy that allows for the plant to prevent other smaller herbivores from eating them. And yesterday afternoon on the walk, we actually looked at one of the plants that had incredibly big thorns. It's still a very young plant. However, the older plants tend to invest less energy in producing thorns. We also see that a lot of the plants over here have quite severe toxins which they can use in their favor. And some of them are also incredibly cunning by being able to communicate with one another and alert one another when they are being fed on by other plants, by herbivores. Let's come back to the giraffe, one that we have over here. It seems like a young female. If I have a look underneath the belly, there's no penile sheath, fairly thin-necked. And then so if we look at the top of those little ossicones, the horn-like structures that we see on top of the head, they seem to have little brush-like tips, unlike the males or older males that actually have bold tips, for those of you that don't know how to separate male from female. What I do find quite fascinating is that the females also tend to be a little bit more picky when it comes to feeding compared to the bulls. And they'll spend a lot more time choosing higher protein rich foods compared to the males that simply feed, get themselves full, and then go and look around for ladies as well as other bulls to fight with. So quite often we do see the males fighting for access to females. And if I start looking carefully through the bush, although I don't think the camera will pick it up because of the light, there's at least 6 or 7 giraffe that's around here on the plains. There's also a number of impala that sneaked in. We'll hopefully get a view of them in the next moment or two as well. So at some point this giraffe is going to move off and move away from this plant as soon as it's raised its tannin levels to such extent that it's no longer palatable to feed on, and then she'll simply go on to the next plant. Good morning, Natalie, and welcome to the show. It's definitely my highlight of the day is to see these beautiful animals, especially with the sunrise directly behind it. Sunrises and sunsets, that's almost always my highlight of the day, and that's what makes it even more rewarding for me to work out here. To give everyone a rundown on our plans for the day, we're going to start, say, over here at Impala Plains. We can still watch these giraffe for a bit, so see if we can get a view of the impalas, and then from there on we're going to start walking off towards the drainage line that's a little bit further to the south of us, and see if we can locate on any tracks of either buffalo or leopard or lion that we heard last night. For those of you that are new to the show and hasn't been able to learn a lot about giraffe as yet, there's a few other things that's quite interesting that I would like to share with you. One of the things that we think always is that their necks are incredibly long, and we thought that it always used to be that they evolved these long necks for feeding. However, they evolved long necks to actually push one another over. And this is especially important for the bulls when they are fighting.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. Across southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats, and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome aboard. I'm so glad to have you back. I've done dam at the moment. That's where we found this lovely web-like nest thing. Sorry guys, I think that you lost me for a second there, but I'm not sure where exactly. But I hope that you can see we're back at this web structure that we saw yesterday. And back at my face too. Hi everyone, it's me TRISHALA diving on camera here at near Treehouse Dam, and that's where we found this structure. So yesterday we were not sure what it was, but we were pretty sure it was not a community nest spider, which is what it looks like from afar. And then we were kind of throwing out ideas, and we saw these little specks in the web, but nothing moving. You see there's like little dotty things along it. There we go. Those things there. Anyway, after doing a bit of research, and Judy H, thank you so much. Judy H sent me a nice article about tent caterpillars that are quite common in the Americas and in Europe, but we don't get them here in Southern Africa. So I was wondering what else could create this ghost-like structure. But there are a few. So for me, this is the first time I've seen one here. But I wonder if I've seen them in the past, but not actually gone and closely inspected them and figured out that it's not a community nest spider nest. So after doing a bit of research, I've concluded that it is a moth, or at least it is a caterpillar, because there's no actual nest bit, and the silk is very, very soft. Spider silk is usually a little bit stronger if you touch it, which I did. And these little bits that we're finding, those little round bits, they seem to actually be the excrement of the little caterpillars that once lived here. I say once lived here because if there's a few species that I've identified that could be, will all pupate together like this and sometimes create a tent-like structure. One of those are processionary moths, but it's not, they don't do it in such a like a haphazard way. It's almost purse-like, but it's a very similar looking thing. It's just purse-like, so it's a little bit more, it's got a little bit more structure. But you can see here, these are very cloudy, nebulous, not too much structure. Now the other moth that could do some, so processionary moths we get here. The other moth that could do that are hairy eaglet moths, but you don't usually see them on this side, although it is possible, I suppose, that they'd be here, but they prefer areas where it's a wet summer, and here we don't have a wet summer. They prefer areas where we have a wet summer, and we do have a wetter summer, but they prefer especially the Western Cape for some reason, even though they don't have a very wet summer. So it could be those also. There's another one that I identified just very quickly, Jared. It was a different family of moths. It was gypsy moths. Those could also build these tent-like structures. Okay, anyway, that was just my explanation. Let me send you off to, I think it was Pinder, to say good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to And Beyond Pinder, where we've just been sitting quietly with at this beautiful waterhole with these two hippos slowly making their way back into the water. Since it's a little bit cooler and becoming winter now, they don't mind spending a little bit more time out grazing, and yeah, it's just quite awesome to see them moving back into the water at this time of the day. Usually by now you'd see them just resting. Oh, there was a little drop off. It's always amazing to me how graceful they are actually in the water for such big animals. My name's Pete, and behind the camera this morning we have Johan, and we've got quite a chilly morning out here. You can see I've got some tears in my eyes still from driving to this area. It's been quite a cold drive, and yeah, but it's such a nice area that we've chosen to try and drive this morning. Really, really beautiful. We got some nice open areas that we're going to go and scan soon, but for now I'm very happy just to sit with these two hippos that seem to be following each other. They're very similar in size, so my guess is that they're just two young bulls that have kind of left the pod, left their mum, and kind of gone on to try and find a waterhole of their own, or an area or territory of their own. You can see there's a little bird behind them following close by, and that's a little grebe. Linda, the water is not too cold for them because they've got really, really thick skin. You won't find hippos really in an area where it's very, very cold. But due to their thick skin, they're actually able to handle this cold water quite well. But in the middle of winter, you actually often see them resting outside, maybe on the banks, just until the water heats up a little bit before going in. But at this stage, I think the water temperature is still all right for them. Quite interesting. You can see that they didn't move too far into the waterhole, and that's because it gets quite a bit deeper from where they are now. And hippos don't swim, I mean, they don't float too well. They can for short little times, but they usually just stand closer to the edge of the waterhole where they can stand quite well. See, they found a nice restful spot. It's also where they feel safest. So whenever they feel like there might be a threat around, they prefer just to go into the water. This is my favorite time of the day. Oh, there's actually another hippo. I'm going to move forward a little bit where we can get a bit of a better view. And just spotted another hippo just down here that's also quite out of the water. And there are quite a few of these little birds that I was mentioning earlier, the little grebe. Really cute little birds. All right. Here you go. Yeah. This hippo actually looks quite a bit bigger than the other two. Interesting to see how they've kind of separated themselves. You can see, as Johan does the wide angle there, how beautiful the sky looks this morning. Really, really pretty with the silhouettes of those mountains in the background. Really such an awesome area. It's probably my favorite area on Phinda. And so lucky that we get to explore this area this morning. So a little bit earlier, Johan and I actually heard some monkeys alarm calling, so we're going to go and see if they were alarming at anything, but we're going to send you off to Steve in the meanwhile, and I'm sure we'll see you in a bit.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We're still with our female giraffe that's busy feeding away on this fawn tree. She's just so relaxed and it's such a beautiful moment that we just decided to stay a little bit longer and watch her. I've never actually had a giraffe that is so incredibly relaxed that it's happy to move up to a few meters away from us. She's probably got to that point now where that tree has raised its tannin levels to such a point that it's no longer tasty. I think she's going to go and look for somewhere else to go and feed. Let's see where she goes. There's a whole number of giraffe, as mentioned earlier. She's also been joined by a few oxpeckers, which wasn't with her earlier. And for those of you that haven't met oxpeckers yet, they're a bird species that quite often will be on the back of large herbivores. Anything from the size of an impala actually up to giraffe. We don't ever find them on elephants. I've once watched them trying to land on an elephant and they almost got swatted. And then one of the other animals that don't really like them is waterbuck. They very quickly tend to chase them off or run underneath vegetation if they go and land on them. These birds actually do quite a healthy little task for them in some ways by actually removing ticks off their coats. They also love to indulge in a little bit of earwax every now and then, as well as scabs. So they've got a bit of an odd diet. One of the very few bird species other than honey guides that can actually digest wax in any way. What we also find is that they do alert the animals of potential threats as well. Sometimes they're a bit of annoyance as well. They tend to open up wounds, especially where there was an injury, and flies often lay their eggs inside there, and then they will pick out those maggots and then allowing the fly again the opportunity to come lay the eggs inside it, which can obviously take a little bit longer then to heal, and in the case of those wounds. There's two different species of oxpeckers which we have. We won't unfortunately be able to see them clearly with a silhouette at the moment, but these are red-billed. The second species is slightly larger. They tend to be more often associating with buffalo, and they have got a yellow and red bill compared to the red-billed oxpecker, which has got all red bill. They also differ very much in how they feed, and one of the feeding strategies for the red-billed oxpeckers is to actually comb the tick out of the coat of an animal. Well, that's of the larger yellow-billed oxpecker. They've got a larger bill as well, which works like a pair of pliers, and they simply yank these larger ticks off the coat of an animal when they are feeding. What not a lot of people know is that oxpeckers were almost extinct in South Africa, and a large number of them over the years have been poisoned due to tick-based dips that was generally used in cattle, and those toxins unfortunately killed the oxpeckers off. And a lot of farmers over the last few decades have actually stopped using these dips, and they've started opting for a more friendly dip that actually doesn't affect the oxpeckers. And in some cases, even some cattle farmers said that they use no dips and they entirely rely on the use of oxpeckers to remove their parasites from them. So when their numbers dwindled, there was also a number of breeding experiments which was done. Their numbers were successfully bred back, and they were released back into the wild. Originally, one of the few places where I would see yellow-billed oxpeckers up to some 20 years ago was up in the northern parts of Kruger National Park, and progressively over the last few years, from 2008 onwards, I started seeing them as far down south as Numbi, and very recently I've also seen them even in the far south of the Kruger National Park, close by to Komatipoort area. We're going to move on, and in the meanwhile we're going to hand you over to the others and see what they've got there at the waterhole.
Thank you, JP. Talking about birds. So as we're looking for these lions that we promised that we will try to find for you guys watching at home. We decided to drive past this waterhole because this is, areas where it will be worth to drive past, because who knows, these lions might be, in and around this area looking for a drink or anything like that. And then boom, we come across what you see right in your screen there. There's a bird sitting right there with a bit of gray color, a bit of white on it. It's a gray heron sitting there. But as you can see, it's sitting on top of what looks like it can be rocks. But those rocks there, they are moving a little bit. So that's actually not rocks, those are hippos there. All right? So, this heron is just using these hippos as sort of like a vantage point to be able to see or look around, because this heron is actually, feed on fish, like a tilapias, and also some frogs and some common platanas. Busy looking around while being very, very silent. I also like that reflection of it in the water. I think that's quite amazing. There's some birds calling in the background, Egyptian goose. So as you can see there, the hippos are actually starting to move a little bit. And I thought for a minute that heron will fly away. But I mean, if you're a bird like that, you need a lot of patience, especially hunting for fish and frogs as well. So this bird is actually a master when it comes to being patient. It'll sit there for, an hour or half an hour, or even longer than that, just waiting for any prey or fish to, swim quite close to the surface. It'll actually use its beak or bill as a spear. Beverly, welcome. I'm glad that you can join us in this beautiful morning out here in Africa. No, the reflections are absolutely amazing. And also, I don't know if you can see from your screens, there's actually a bit of smoke on the surface of the water blowing. It's actually very, very cold this morning. I'm actually freezing right now. I can't even feel my hands. And also these hippos there, looks like they, taking a little bit of a nap or a bit of sleep. Because I would have imagined they've just come back into this waterhole early this morning, just before the sun comes up. And I believe that last night they were moving around, looking for food, mainly feeding on grass. And these animals could have easily traveled 5 to 10 kilometers feeding all around. And when traveling that long, feeding can be quite tiring. So it makes sense for them to come back and, take a little bit of a rest. Nicanova, do I know of any mammals that can't swim. So actually that animal that you're looking at right now, which is a hippo, they actually cannot swim. You know, they're not great swimmers. They're basically just walking under the water. But I think most of the, of the mammals, depending on the circumstances, most of them here, they actually can swim. Yeah, I think let's wait a little bit more and see if maybe this particular animal or particular bird will actually catch something. But while we wait, I'm going to quickly send you over to Pinda.
Welcome back, everyone. We just got quite a beautiful scene. Johan was saying it actually looks like a painting with this beautiful fever tree, and it's only actually fever tree in this area, and this lone wildebeest just standing underneath it. See him just enjoying the morning sun, looking right into it. With a few little crowned lapwings around, looking for any little insects on the ground there. But just such a beautiful scene. You can see he's quite vigilant, so this is where we actually heard those monkeys alarm calling, and we heard some impala going as well. Unfortunately, there are no roads close to where we heard that. But we've just been sitting here scanning for a little while. But this wildebeest seems to be staring in the exact same direction. And that's one of the amazing things about the alarm calls, is it helps out all the other animals in the area. It's not just the monkeys that they're helping out. The monkeys will be letting all the other potential prey species know that there's a threat around. But that fever tree, if you look at it quite carefully, it's been rubbed on quite a few times. That waterhole that we're at is close by, and you can imagine a rhino or an elephant has gone and lay inside that waterhole, and then would have come here and rubbed off a bit of that mud to satisfy an itch. So you can actually see there's still a lot of mud on that tree. And some areas on the tree is actually smoothed out quite nicely. One thing I love about a fever tree, so the Zulu name for a fever tree is Mkanyakute, and it means a tree that stands out from afar. And I think it's quite an awesome name and quite an accurate name, because it does. Look at that. Thanks, Kritafik. We're enjoying the scene as well. It's such a nice temperature. Johan and I have our big jerseys on, but it's just so lovely sitting here and listening to the birds calling this morning. But those clouds above are also making the scene quite beautiful. These almost stripes, yeah, and you can see the sun just coming up nicely now. It's amazing, this wildebeest hasn't moved a muscle. He's just been standing there. This is probably the spot where he would have spent the night. Nice sandy spot. Just relaxing here. And I'm sure as he heats up, he'll probably head out to go and get some grazing in and potentially go for a drink at that waterhole we were just at with the hippos. So Ingrid, back to your question. Sorry, I was just heard something in the background. I'm not too sure if the leaves have any uses, but I know that the bark is used in a few remedies and can help with prevention of skin cancer and sun damage. So they rub it on, and it's got a nice sap that comes out that you can also use traditionally to make different medicines for various reasons. Yeah, it's quite an interesting tree because traditionally it was always thought that this was one of the trees that gave you malaria. That's why it's called the fever tree. It's got this white powder, or like greenish white powder that comes off if you rub your hand on it. And people used to believe that this was the tree that gave you malaria. But it's actually only because it's found in areas or malaria areas or malaria hotspots, because it needs that nice humid kind of environment to grow successfully. You can see that the wildebeest now just slowly starting to chew a bit of his cud. Obviously some of the grass that he took in last night, slowly starting to chew that again and digest it.
Helping kids to fall in love with nature is critical. Our future depends on it. Wild Earth has had the opportunity to take many children from all over the world on safari, some from right here on our doorstep.
Welcome to those of you watching from Hananani Primary School, just outside Dixie Village.
They love learning about nature because, now we're having like a crisis of like rhino poaching. We all need each other. So it is very, very important for the kids to learn about animals, on how to save them or even to protect them.
My favorite animal is an elephant because they are very cute, although they're eating the trees or the plants, but they are still very cute to me.
The way they explained the animals, asking questions, and we saw our names on the screen, it was so exciting.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
I love being a cam-op for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephant, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Welcome back, everybody. So we were staying with that heron earlier on, and eventually those hippos submerged, and then the heron flew away. It didn't manage to catch anything though, but maybe it will later on. But yeah, as you can see right in front of your screens, you can see there's a bird sitting right up on top of the termite mound there. And if you look at the color of the bill of that bird, oh, just flew off. It's quite red in color with a lot of white and a bit of black. There was a red-billed hornbill that was sitting there. So what that bird was doing there was actually just waiting for, termites to show up so that it can feed on them. And if you look right below that termite mound, you can actually see there's a bit of white patches, almost looks like white paint there. So it looks like, a lot of birds actually visit the termite mound quite often. So what you see the white there, that is basically, birds defecating. That's the color of their defecation. So I don't know if you can see also, look quite close on the top of the termite mound. You can see there's a smoke blowing out of it. Almost looks like there's fire, right below the termite mound. Let's have a closer look. You'll see a bit of smoke blowing out of it. Can you see that? This is quite amazing. So the termites that we have here, the termites that have built that mound, these are fungus-growing termites. And they keep the temperature right inside the termite mound about 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. So right inside the termite mound, it's very warm, which is why you can see the smoke blowing out of it. I thought that was, that is pretty amazing. Awesome. So, yeah, So I think we're going to try to move a little bit more east. There's a lot of big clearings. Maybe we might see some general game. Mandy, welcome. Glad that you can join us. How long does it take termites to build these structures or to build the termite mounds? Mandy, termite mounds can be built. It depends. Some, could easily be like 40 years. Or even a little bit longer than that. I mean, some of these termite mounds are, probably older than us, because what happens is, when they build these termite mounds, as you would know, or as you would imagine, because termites live in such a big group, so there's a bit of dynamics that is happening in there. You know, you have your builders or your workers, and then you have the king and the queen, you know, and the drones. So the queen lives up to 25 to 28 years, and once she dies out, they eventually probably move to another area where they'll establish another colony. So yeah, I mean, this termite mound could easily be, I don't know, maybe 50, 60, even 90 years old. And as you can see, it has worn down a little bit, so it's quite old. But for now, yeah, I think let's try to head into that area of the east. And you know, as I said, with those lions that we had earlier on, those areas will be worth to go have a look. So yeah, let's see what we find. And while we're moving around, we'll see if maybe we can find some interesting birds while we're driving into that area. To have a little bit of sun. Starting to get a little bit warm because it's been very, very cold. Actually, there's something here that I want to show you quickly. Let me go slightly backwards. Right, but I think for now, I'll stick around in this area, but I think I'll quickly send you to Pridelands, because I think they have some exciting birds to show you guys.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. Still quite chilly out here, and we're all dressed in layers. We're busy watching the birds. Well, they've got their own unique little layer that they're dressed in, and that is feathers. And feathers is what makes birds quite unique, and this provides them with all the insulation that they need. But it also, interestingly, if we look at feathers, it's one of the defining characteristics which sets them apart from all other mammals. Some of you might know that birds have actually originated from reptilian ancestors. And what they did find is that some of these reptilian ancestors or dinosaur-like ancestors that they had actually started developing feathers. It would also actually not make sense for a reptile to have feathers. And it suggested that there was a move from being endothermic, where you had to go into the sun to heat yourself up, to a next level of where they started developing partial endothermic temperature regulation, where you burn carbohydrates and fats to actually maintain a consistent body temperature, just like what we would do. Well, eventually that is what has allowed them to be a very successful species. It's able to allow them to occupy a wide range of different habitats and different continents. And today we've almost got some 10,000 different species of birds, each with their own unique little feather dress. Birds that we are seeing over here at the moment are predominantly hornbills, and also a few other smaller species that are hopping in between. They'll probably get active very soon and start looking for a meal to forage. But in the meanwhile, just like the birds, I'm going to also enjoy a little bit of sunshine to increase my body temperature. So many of these hornbill species which we see over here, they tend to eat predominantly fruit, but also a good number of insects and other small little mammals. Especially the yellow-billed hornbill that we see over there. I've seen him in the past actually taking rodents. A few years ago, there was a large outbreak of rodents after a very good rainy season. There was a lot of seeds, and it seems that the rodents were very successful in breeding that year. And it was just amazing to watch hornbill after hornbill picking out little mice and small little rats from the bushes and consuming these. I even noticed the European as well as lilac-breasted rollers doing precisely the same. There's another bird that's here with a group, which is an all-iridescent shiny bird, which is one of the species of starling that we have over here. Looks like a Birchville starling, which is one of the largest species. We also got a number of others, which is the Cape Glossy and the greater blue-eared starling, which is slightly smaller, but we normally can identify them by their little yellow eyes and not an all-black eye, like of a Birchville starling. Seem that they are all becoming a little bit more active now and starting to forage. Let's start walking a little bit closer and see what they're getting up to. As we go closer, we're just going to hand you over to Trish in the meanwhile and see what she has.
So we've managed to find at least an ellie butt, not too much. But they're all kind of in the block, so we're hoping that they come out at some point. It seems to be quite a nice herd. I don't see too many of them, but you can see that there's some nice trees in the middle. The nice trees obviously is what's attracting them to that spot. So we're kind of like they are right in between this road, which is Quarry Pan. It's going to lead us to Quarry Pan and Cheetah Cutline. So we're just kind of sitting around and waiting to see if they'll move in either direction, and then we can have a better look at them. But we have been sitting here for a little bit, just trying to figure out what they're doing, and we can hear lots of breaking of branches and the swooshing of trees and leaves. But this is the first one to pop out and actually look at us, or not even yet, but almost look at us. We've got an ear now. We could very soon have a trunk. It seems to be a nice herd, or a nice large herd, because I can hear them cracking like far ahead of us, as well as behind us. I really want to sit with them for a while because I've been hoping for some elephants this morning. And here they are. I think Cheetah Cutline might be a better bet because I can hear a vehicle starting up on that side. So I would think that they stopped to see the elephants. So we'll swing around in a bit and check the view out from that side. Either way, we know where they are. It's not as if they're in a big rush. Are they ever, really? They're always really calm. Hi, Lizzie. You'd like to know if all grey-skinned mammals have wrinkly skin? No. I mean, the only other grey-skinned mammal as opposed to thick-skinned, the only other grey-skinned one is a rhino. And theirs is not wrinkly as much as it's got this... it's patterned. It's got less like embossed, but... it sounds like a weird way to describe the skin. But it's not wrinkly like an elephant's is. The whole purpose of having this wrinkly skin for an elephant is that these wrinkles can capture moisture, keep them in those wrinkles, so it assists with keeping them cool. And also, because they're such large animals, it increases the surface area to have these wrinkles, which means that when they're swimming and things like that, they have a larger surface for evaporative cooling to work off. And all of those adaptations are a result of their super large size, largest land mammal. Whereas other mammals that may have gray skin are not the largest. Even with rhino, white rhino, obviously they're massive, second largest mammal, but still not as large as an elephant to suffer greatly from a high or metabolic heat building up in their body. Let's try swing round. I see that one moving through the bushes just there. The skin of an elephant, actually, in the context of mammals, is very different to most. It has very little hair on it. Okay, we'll swing around and get a nice view. They have very little hair on it, and they have these wrinkles. It's a very cool skin, and it keeps them cool. Anyway, let me now go around and try and catch up with them. I'll send you over to Pinda.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinda, everyone. We've got a beautiful male lion. Just come across him now, and we actually heard him roaring, and that's how we managed to find him. You can see how he's just stopping and scanning, trying to carry on. It is quite rocky here. Let's just stick with him. Seems to be looking down. We know that the pride was in this area last night. And he seems very, very determined, looking in the same direction the whole time. And he seems to be on quite a mission, so not really. He'll look around for a while and then he carries on going. The tree he's walking up towards now. Sorry if the camera keeps on moving around. We're driving on quite a bumpy section here. So I've got to concentrate a little bit to try and stick with him. I'll just see if we can maybe get ahead of him, let him walk right towards us. Really, really awesome to see this male lion in the area. So this is a male lion in the southwest of the reserve, and he's the dominant male, and he's the male that actually recently lost his brother in a territorial fight with the north males. So at the moment he's been roaming his territory by himself, spending a little bit of time with the one pride in this area called Viola Pride. Yo, it's rocky here. Luckily these Land Cruisers are quite tough. But I'm just getting ahead of him now, and I'm hoping that he'll walk right towards us. So it's been quite an interesting time for him. He's been moving around quite a bit, going between the two prides that him and his brother used to go between, and also obviously having to still look after his territory. You can see him here going up to a quarry, just rubbing his face in it. Maybe I'll scent mark a bit. Beautiful. And you can actually see just on the side of his face just some of the scars left. And actually on the top shoulder there, you can see a little bit of white. So I'll try and duck out the way there. And those are all just scars still from that big fight that they had. He's walking with a lot of purpose and heading straight back towards where, as I was saying earlier, where that pride was last night. I was saying to Johan earlier, when him and his brother came into dominance, there was another male lion in this area. That is still alive, he's still around, but he had been pushed out. So it'd be quite interesting to see, now that this male lion's by himself, see whether, there's some impala that he spotted, but he's not gonna even think about chasing them. So if the camera is moving up and down, it's just because we're driving on rocks, but we're close to a road now, which will be awesome. I'm going to just try and get to the road, but in the meantime, I'm going to send you off to Proudlands, and we're going to try and stick with this male lion for the time being.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We've just found some tracks of some of the game birds over here, as well as some droppings that's been created by them. There's most likely a small little crested francolin that's walked over here. But to come back to this little dropping, quite often when we do see the droppings, they oxidize into a white coloration. But in this case, it's all black in color. And this is typical when they are eating large amount of insects, especially ticks. One of the things that I find particularly interesting is that guinea fowls in the last few years has been used as biological control agents in the United States. And what they've done is they've imported these birds and they've released them in areas where there's high Lyme's disease outbreaks, as the guinea fowls actually have a preference for feeding on the ticks above grain. Seeing that it's got a higher protein yield, which is a more rewarding meal for them to feed on. So quite often, instead of using pesticides, things like biological control agents is a far better way of dealing with a lot of the problems that we actually have created as humans. So if I have a look over here on the track again, we typically see that there's 1, 2, 3 toes pointing forward, and then a very short toe coming towards the back. Although guinea fowls and francolins and spur fowls are ground-dwelling birds, we often find that they will roost in trees, and that's why they have still got a hind toe compared to many ground-dwelling species that has lost the hind toe. And this is to support them when they are up in a tree, that they don't fall over. It just makes perching so much easier. From here we're going to move on and go and see what else we can go and find.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Take 27. I'm Carol from Chicago, USA. This is me 5 years ago. No music, no editing, real time. I was hooked. Thank you so much for that, Wild Earth.
I had lost my job, and I also lost one of my pets. So Wild Earth has seen me through very hard times, and I just want to thank all of you for being there for me when I needed you most.
We love you. We start and end our day with you, teaching our grandkids all about nature through you, your wonderful educational safaris.
We really do appreciate being on safari with you, especially when it's cold and wintry in Canada.
And considering we've been in lockdown for 18 months here in Saudi and have not been able to fly back to South Africa, I want to thank you for bringing your safari back into my life every single day and night. I love it, love it, love it.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Welcome back, everyone. This male line has led us right back to where the pride is. You can see just in the background there, the two of them, the male and a female, all kind of joining up now. So special, such a special sighting here now. I haven't seen this whole pride together like this in such a long time. And they're all dotted around. I can't even, 1, 2, 3. There are about 9 lions here, which is so exciting. If you look just on the road in front of us, there's a young sub-adult male with quite a much younger cub. Almost going for the ankle tap there. I'm just going to try and stick with them for now. Really awesome. It's amazing how they're just following where the male has gone off to. You can see he really is the leader of this pride, and now they've laid down just in a little patch of shade up ahead here, which is so awesome. Yeah, Bernie Lulu, you're right, it is precious. And look at the one mom there just going to give a little bit of attention to one of her cubs as she moves off. But it's amazing to see how they kind of keep their distance. They respect the male quite a lot. When he arrived, they all looked at him in kind of admiration. And this is the father of all of these cubs. And especially while they're still young, he doesn't want them too close to him. You see the female maybe go and greet him a little bit now, but she's even quite cautious around him. Shaq, this male is about 7 years old, so 6 or 7. So he's in the prime of his life. You can see that beautiful dark mane, and as he was walking, you could also see that dark body that he has. He's really in his prime. And yeah, him and his brother were truly the kings of this area. And unfortunately, his brother being killed quite recently has changed the dynamics quite a bit in this area. So it'll be interesting to see, as I was saying earlier, whether he will stay the dominant male or whether that other male that was in this area, the south male, whether he will try and make a comeback. He's a little bit older than this male. He's about 8 or 9, I think. There's another lioness just joining from the left-hand side now. they've all got really full bellies. So I wonder if they maybe caught something close by last night or yesterday morning, because they haven't moved too far from where they were yesterday. That's a good question, and I was actually thinking about it earlier, and what he would do if he came across that other male lion. And I think because he's been in charge of this area for so long, I don't know if he would try and look for another coalition partner. There's only one other male that he could join up with, really, in this area. But I don't think he would. I think he would want to be the only one in charge. That usually happens when the male lions are a little bit younger, when they're nomadic and they're trying to find a territory of their own. But once they've got an established territory, they would probably not. They're more unlikely to join up with an unrelated male. Look at that cub there, just to the left of him, playing with that stump. It's lovely watching cubs because they're always fascinated by every little thing because it's quite new to them. You can see the rest of the stick's actually close to Mom's face. I'm sure if the cub pushes it over, it's going to annoy Mom a little bit. Michael, yes, so male lions will usually have a lot darker skin than the females, and it's just a testosterone thing and also a thing of dominance. And usually the darker man just shows a lot more testosterone and potentially more dominance between the brothers as well. You could see they're both quite dark, and then one had a slightly blonder mane and the other one had a bit of a darker mane. And it doesn't mean that that's the rule, but quite often that the one that's a little bit darker is a little bit more dominant. But you can see his whole body, not only his mane, his whole body is a shade darker. See, this lioness just grooming herself still right here. She's the only one left in the sun. The rest of them have kind of moved into the shade. So I wonder if after she's done grooming, if she'll also move towards the shade. Even though it's still quite cool this morning, I'm sure they're going to enjoy a bit of shade with their full bellies. They normally like to just rest and try and digest the food as well as they can. He's picked up that stick completely now. So Mel, the female cubs will be kind of in danger to other males up until the point where they sexually mature. So probably about 2.5 years. And then the male cubs are always going to be a threat. So they normally will leave mom after 2.5 years. and so then the males will never want them around. It's more the female cubs that they'll accept once they won't be cubs anymore when they are accepted.
Pete, I'm just going to follow up on the alarm calling coming from this direction and I'll come back.
Copy. So we can hear some more alarm calls just in the background. We know that there is still a lioness that's part of this pride, and I wonder if it's not potentially her that's going to join again. Be quite interesting to see. You see them all resting so nicely now. I wonder what that male was doing going down towards the waterhole, if he had possibly heard a noise or something and wanted to go and investigate what it was. Look at that cub on the left now, just take it easy, lying on back, proper relaxed pose there. Looks like he might be lying on the beach catching a tan. So we might go and follow up quickly on what those monkeys are alarm calling at, and in the meanwhile we're going to send you off to JP, who's got some tracks for you guys.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. It's a slow morning. We haven't seen a lot of other animals since we've left our giraffe an hour or so ago. But we're busy looking at trees, plants and tracks at the moment. And one of the field signs that we have found over here is belonging to impala. And if we look over here, we've got a tiny impala track over here. They're roughly 4.5–5 centimeters in length. They've got fairly sharp outer edges. And it's fairly easy to identify them because the tracks are normally all over the place. And they occur in large herds, which makes it quite easy to separate it from other similar antelopes. Sometimes we do confuse it with Nyala, which is a little bit more rounded on the outside. But Nyalas tend to step into their own track, which we call a direct register, a behavior that we never see with impala. Now, in this case, we can deduct that this was most likely a female if we look at the pellets over here and then the urine that has been deposited right over here. When a female defecates, the urine and the feces end up very close by to one another, where when a male defecates and urinates, the difference is a slight difference in distance between the urine and the feces itself. So, in general, we also find that females will randomly defecate anywhere at this time of the year. I'm just going to show you something else as we're going to pan slightly a little further to a slightly larger midden. And this is where we've got a larger midden that's been created by a territorial male. So for those viewers that have joined us for the first time, you've probably not learned it yet, but impala rams are pretty much rutting at this time of the year. And when they rut and when they've got a territory, they tend to defecate on a single fixed midden. Now their rutting season is going to come over to an end very soon, and it generally starts slacking down here by the dark phase of the moon in May, sometimes continuing into June. We can still hear a number of the rams at night when they're herding females, creating these loud sounds.
see what's going on. And usually when these alarm calls carry on for so long, there usually is something around. And we know that those 2 female cheetah have been in the area as well. So we're going to actually go and investigate. We're going to leave these lions. I don't think they're going to move anywhere for the time being. You can see how relaxed they are. And we're going to go and see if we can find what those monkeys are upset with. But we're going to send you off to Steve so long.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, Mike from Boetelo has found 2 lionesses who are going to go follow up on members of the pride that had come in from the south. I'm thinking it's Nkuhuma pride. Not 100% sure, but these 2 have stolen the kill from a leopard and now are moving south again. Now, a whole number of lions had come in from the south and we're following the buffalo herd, so we were in the area trying to pick up on those tracks. And now they're heading straight back south again. They look like they've stolen something substantial, meaning an impala between the 2 of them, because Mike, who has got Tristan with him, and we've got some private guests, were tracking what they believe to be Tundi. And it seems as if these lions tracked her down and stole her kill. We're not sure. That's all the information we have for you right now. See if we can get an identification of these 2. They feel like 2 of the young Nkuhuma lionesses. Hello, Tristan. I'm good, and how are you? They look like Nkuhuma to me, eh? With cubs? Okay, so these 2 lionesses, everybody, have got cubs on Little Gowrie. I've just been informed. I did not know. It's possible they went to go join the pride in hunting of buffalo and in the stealing of leopard food. And let's carry on. They're on the fire break now. Did a whole little loop around to get to them. They're heading straight back now, fire break towards Leadwood Road, Twin Dams itself, and maybe even Little Gowrie. So, you know, we've often had a couple of the members of the pride missing last time I saw them. Oh. Mike, you need to beep when you go backwards. He's going to go in there and we're going to follow them along the road here. So I just saw a little bit of blood on one of the face. Oh, that's why he's going back, because I forgot there's a huge tree in the road here that elephants have pushed down. I wonder how long, in fact, it has been pushed down, because there's a nice little 2-track around it. I haven't been on this road in months. Indigo Girl, it is always exciting to see cats, big cats. I'm hoping we'll find you some more. Hopefully we'll get to see these 2 again. Just have to get over a giant log. It's very comfortably in the road there. Hold on, Darren, it's a big log. Requires a little bit of oomph and oomph. Okay, so hopefully we're going to keep up with these lions, but I haven't seen them again. We're walking straight through the thickets there. They're probably going to be on Gowrie Main shortly. I think they're just walking through the side here. There's Gowrie Main to the south. A little there we go. little Gowrie just across the road. So there we go. One last view of these lions moving through the thickets.
On board we have a very special guest joining our live safari today. We have Sue Fogel, who has bought a ticket to Dream.
It was an easy decision to purchase a ticket to Dream because I've been working with animals for my whole life, and I think what Wild Earth does here, bringing live safaris into your home, is just remarkable.
If you want to go on safari with a Wild Earth guide whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Well, since I've been watching for such a long time, I thought it would be a good idea for me to come here in person.
Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
If you have a chance to do it, I highly recommend it. To feel the sun on your face and the wind in your hair and to smell the smells and just kind of be in the animal's presence. It's undescribable. I highly recommend it.
For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, the two lionesses walked straight across Gowrie Main into Little Gowrie, and they're gone. So we're going to go back towards where the last tracks were called in of more than 2 members, 4 members, and a male. We were just about to get off the vehicle and look at some tracks when those 2 lionesses were called in. So, but how exciting. They've both got cubs. Who knew? I certainly didn't. Did you know, Darren? No, Darren didn't know. That's not surprising. Darren just started here. Did any of you viewers know and didn't tell me? We all know I love the Nkuhuma pride. I mean, we knew last time I said that they were mating, or had been mating, or potentially had cubs. So it's nice to know that it's confirmed. Okay, so we shoot a cut line. Head back in towards Drakensberg Central, towards the junction where Tlamba had her little kill the other day. That is where the last tracks were seen. And that is where I'm going to go and have a little look-see. Maybe have a cup of coffee as well beforehand. Yep. Tracks of the female leopard that they were following have come down this road, down into Leadwood, Indigo girl, how nice will it be to see those cubs? Can you imagine now when they rejoin the pride with all their cubbies? It's going to be a feeding frenzy. Don't know how many cubs each of them have got. The Kahuma boys are turning 2 next month. The older boys. And these are just some of the tracks that we're going to be following up on. Here is a male lion. You just see that by the size, not an adult, although always good to measure. That's 10. That is 16. Male lion. Lioness, 13 centimeters, maybe 14. That is the back foot on top of the front foot. And a few of them walked up here and they went into Juma that side. So these were called in much, much earlier while we were having some technical issues and went home to sort them out. Now we've come out ready and excited. You're probably all enjoying my snowboard pants. It's been cold, everybody, and I'm very, very happy and excited that I do manage to have a pair of snowboard pants ready and available for me to wear and to do my thing, because it's been pretty chilly. Cool thing about snowboard pants is they're like active wear, cold wear. And hey Darren, they look pretty cool too, don't they? Darren wanted to know where I got them from. Well, that is a long story. Definitely don't have enough time. We're going to carry on, pick up on these tracks, and while we do so, we're going to send you over to Trish.
I don't have snowboarding pants to keep me warm, but I do have a hot water bottle and a shuka, or a little blanket. But luckily it's warmed up a little bit now, so at least my gloves could come off. Now we're back on quarantine and we're going to use Via Tele Access to go west. Hopefully find something to follow up on. It's been a very relaxed morning. Surprisingly so, because I often find on days when I can't find too much, there's not too much around animal-wise or even like, insect-wise or anything cool and unique to show you. Sometimes it can get frustrating, but today has been very, very chilled out, despite not having found too much. I was disappointed that our elephants moved to a spot that was even more difficult to see them through, though. We'll be passing our usual crowd here in quarantine. Our Impala. Good morning, guys. But I'm going to stop at the wildebeest a little further ahead. Actually, let's just maybe stop here so we can have a look at the wildebeest and some Impala. Hello, guys. Good morning. It's so peaceful to watch them out here. Tucking into that good grass. Even the impalas have their heads down in the grass. Lots of little juicy bits, I suppose, that have revealed themselves after the grass has been cut. And they can go after very specific bits. The wildebeest, they prefer to just kind of bulk graze, as we call it. But the impala are very specific about what they're picking. Oh, look at these two, having a bit of a play. They look so gentle. Looks like two females. I wonder if they're actually scratching certain bits of each other. No, they're having a bit of a play fight. You see when they get down on the ground like that. But you can see that it's very gentle. Their tails are still wagging, if you call it. No, it's not really wagging. They're just moving them from side to side, making sure no flies or anything like that are in their sensitive areas. Oh, and now we're just relaxing. Quite different when males fight. Very different story there. Oh, they're all dropping down now. See another one dropping down to the ground. Perhaps it's that time when the ground is nice and warm. They've eaten sufficiently. Hi Sarah, you're 9 years old. You have a very important question. You'd like to know, when do wildebeest go to sleep? Well, they sleep a little bit throughout the day. So they don't just sleep at night, they don't just sleep in the day. They sleep a little bit all the time, mostly in the evening. But they have to make sure that all of them don't sleep at the same time, so that there's at least one of them that are awake. They can make sure that there's no danger around. That's a great thing, Sarah, about living in a herd, because you can take turns sleeping. So you'll find them resting like this during the day, but they won't be really sleeping. Just resting, closing their eyes, taking it easy, and at night they have their good sleep. But again, not a whole lot of sleep, because they have to take it in shifts. You'll find that the younger ones sleep a lot more, but that's with any mammal. Young mammals need a lot of sleep for their little bodies to recuperate and grow. So calm. I'm feeling so relaxed this morning. I'm going to send you over to TRICO. He's got an interesting bird for you. We're going to move on to Retailer Access and the West.
Welcome back, everybody. As you can see right in front of you, there is a beautiful bird sitting right up at the top there. If you look at the colors of it and the feathers, you'll see a lot of brown, a bit of black, and tiny bit of white spots on it as well. And the legs of them, I don't know if you can see from there, but if you look at the legs, you'll notice the feathers don't extend all the way down. Now let's look at the color of the eyes. Let's see, maybe it turns around a little bit. It looks like it's not going to turn now. But the color of the eyes is bright yellow in color. So this is a brown snake eagle. What an amazing bird. And normally when they perch, they'll perch really high up on the trees. They don't normally perch lower. They perch really high up at the top, so that they have a greater view of what's going on around them. So they'll mainly feed on snakes, which is why I think that's why it's sitting up at the top, just looking around for any opportunities of any snakes. I mean, as you can imagine, sitting really high up and be able to see a snake moving on the ground. I mean, their eyesight must be very, very good. But also just looking at on the feathers, I can see there's a tiny bit of white, as I said, a bit of spots of white. And so this is an immature one. So some other snakes that will feed on your black mambas. I mean, as dangerous as they are, but this particular bird can catch them and feed on them. Fully grown pythons, a little bit too big, so I don't think they'll attempt to do that. But also go for things like puff adders. Oliver, welcome. Glad that you can join us in this beautiful morning here on Ingala. Species of eagles that we can see on Ingala, there's actually quite a lot of them. You know, from your, brown snake eagles to black-chested snake eagles. Sure, it's quite a lot to mention. But we do have a lot. And we have some tawny eagles as well. We have some Wahlberg's eagles, which are migratory. Oh, there it is, taking off. Fantastic. So I guess there's no potential food around here, which is why that bird is taking off. Oh, is it coming back? Let's wait and see. Now, basically think that it's just flying around, just keeping an eye out on the ground. This is nice and breezy, a bit of wind blowing. As you can see, that bird is not flapping its wings quite frequently because there's a bit of air just gliding through it. Yeah, definitely hunting. And as soon as it sees some signs of snakes or even a snake on the ground, you see just straight go down, swoops down. Amazing. All right, I think we're gonna move on now. So we're gonna be heading in a westerly direction and see what we find there. We haven't found any signs of these lions that we're looking for, but we'll keep on trying and see maybe we'll find them. But for now, I'll send you over to Steve on a watering hole.
Well, thirsty work looking for lions, I can tell you. Buffalo herd from yesterday have made their way to Buffalo Dam eventually. This morning they've been slowly heading in this direction. The lion tracks were behind them and we were on our way to those lion tracks, got into the area of the last set of tracks, and there was elephant herd all over the place. I got off the vehicle to have a little look, and it's not ideal to be trying to find lion tracks in amongst a herd of elephant. And then we got the report that this herd of buffalo is coming down to drink. So here we have them. Our patience pants from last night have finally paid off. And we finally now got them coming down for a drink. So I'm just going to allow you to just sit quietly with this beautiful scene as it unfolds in front of you.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
We've been thoroughly entertained here by some impala rams. You can see there's quite a few just in front of us. But to check in there's a herd of females, and there's one ram in the middle there, and he's been defending this herd, or defending his territory where this herd is in at the moment. So he's been fighting with these young males. Sorry about that. Young males around. One of the males, not just young males, there's some very mature males here as well trying to fight for this territory. So we're just kind of sitting and watching. The young males are over to the left in a little bachelor herd. The older males are coming to join this bachelor herd now. But it's really nice to see so many males around an already territorial ram with his females. So it can get spicy very quickly. And we saw something interesting. We saw that they were alarm calling, like what I would consider alarm call, not the rutting call. Alarm calling, and then everybody picks their heads up, distracted, and then suddenly the dominant ram comes in as he does, almost to like distract the other males, making them think there's a predator around. So I think we're in a great position to watch what'll happen here. If anyone will win over this herd. Mr. Boss Ram is clearly watching this bachelor herd here. Look at him. Just behind that tree a little bit. I remember to the breeding herd, doesn't matter who's in charge of them. They don't really pay attention to what the males are doing, because the males will establish a territory, and then they use herds of females and their youngsters walk through them, and then the male tries to keep them in his territory. So to them, it doesn't matter whose territory it is. They're just after good food, some nice shade, all those lovely resources. I did see the one-eyed impala somewhere in this group as well. Well, he's not one-eyed, he's just blind in one eye. Hi Annette, you say impalas are such beautiful animals. They really, really are. And during the rut, you get to truly experience them. Not just as these animals you're going to see very frequently as you go through the bush, but you actually experience them and their character during the rut. I like that. I think our one-eyed blind friend is this guy here. It's not this side, it's the other side that's blind. At least I think it's him. If he turns around, we'll be able to see. Yeah, it's him. It's interesting because he's hanging away from both the bachelor herd and the breeding herd there. Well, let's see what happens. I'm going to send you over to Pridelands. They have got a mixed herd of various types. Why don't you go over and have a look?
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We just were looking at a little sounder of warthogs. There's a few big pigs in there. I hope that we're going to be able to find a view of them again. They've just moved into that little thicket over there. I was actually surprised how big that one male is that was in the group. So normally when we do see them run off, and typically what they just did, all the little tails up in the air so that they can maintain group cohesion. So this is how they keep together. That's something that else I find particularly interesting of them is that they will often walk right up to us as what they were doing at that point and then staring at us to make sure what we are. So it's just called a predator inspection. Quite often what you'll also notice when they are looking at you and you're unsure specifically where we were standing with the sun from behind us in the shade, it was making it very hard for them to spot what we are, and that first approach was to actually raise their hair on the back to make themselves also look a little bit bigger and more intimidating. It doesn't seem if we can relocate on the view of them. It seems that they're all now moved off, which is quite a pity because I love warthogs. It's one of my favorite animals to always sit and watch. Good morning, Leah. Warthogs can only be dangerous really on foot if you trap them inside a burrow system, and they do quite often run into burrows. And one of their tactics is to run off and do a 180-degree turn and then sit with the tusks to the outside. So when we do find burrows and we want to go investigate what's going on in that burrow, we always approach it at a 45-degree angle, never from the front. And at the same time, we look for tracks coming in and out from that burrow system, because if they do run you out there, they can potentially sever your leg quite badly, because the upper and the lower pair of tusks rub over one another. Now the lower part is razor sharp, and I would not like to be on the receiving side of that. They also use it very effectively against predators. Their close relative, the bush pig, which is another species of pig we have here in Africa, also uses their tusks equally well as defensive weapons, and they've actually been known to rout the groin area of a potential threat. And then what I also normally find is as long as you don't trap them in any other way, and there's always an escape route for them, then they won't provide any real threat. They tend to be more curious, come and have a look, and then they move off. We're going to see if we can get another glimpse of him. If we're not, we're going to move on. But in the meanwhile, Trish has got some impalas.
We are still sitting here in this arena, watching carefully what will happen. So far, just a few roars, but nobody has come close enough to the herd for the ram in charge of the herd to do anything about it. It's a very interesting place to be, though, watching like this, because often when we see them, bless you, Davy, we don't get to see them very clearly, one with the territory and a herd in his territory, and he's trying to defend it, and all these this bachelor herd with all these males of various ages, clearly interested in this territory and this herd of females. This guy is on high alert. Oh, look, this is interesting. This female at the end, she has a floppy ear. Yeah, it's the other side. Is it the other side ear, or was I seeing things? She just managed to flop it for my... Oh, she's just flopping them herself. That's just to help the oxpecker, the red-billed oxpecker there, get into her ears nicely. That was quite cool. I've never seen them do it so obviously. They're a little on edge. I mean, apart from obvious reasons of everything, the dynamics that are going on at the moment right here. But the wind is picked up. So just the sound of that spurfowl coming through made of the herd turn around and look in that direction. The males are also kind of scattered, looking around. Perhaps there is something in the area that they can smell. The wind will also carry those scent of a predator much further than if it wasn't windy. So they may be picking up scents that are not an immediate threat to them, but it still makes them nervous. Hi, Abigail. You'd like to know if oxpeckers ever land on predators? I've never seen them on a predator. And generally speaking, as the name describes, it's an oxpecker, so they're on herbivores usually. The only one that is omnivorous that it lands on, and the smallest animal that it lands on, is a warthog. So sometimes warthogs they won't go out and kill something, but they have been known to nibble on small creatures every now and then. Little insects, little grubs, stuff like that. But that's the smallest animal that they'll land on. An oxpecker doesn't want to put itself in a position where it can easily get swatted by a paw with really, really sharp claws. Well, anyway, we're going to stick around here and just watch what happens, but we're going to send you over to Pridelands with a very small carnival.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We just found a small little group of dwarf mongoose, which is one of my favorite small carnivores. So quite often if we do find them, they tend to run off very quickly. But if we go and sit still and we make ourselves look much smaller, they often come out and come and investigate, to come and have a look. Oh, unfortunately, he's just popped behind the log again. This was for me absolutely fascinating little creatures, as they are social, just like the meerkats that we find in the Kalahari, which is also a species of mongoose. And what we find over here is that the female also, in the case of the dwarf mongoose, is more dominant. And there's a dominant female that is on average some 30% larger than the rest of the group members. These little guys seldom weigh much more than 200 grams if you compare them to the largest African carnivore, which is a lion, which weighs up to some 260 kilograms in weight. I've seen them hunting quite a few times, and they sometimes will go for insects mostly, and they'll also, at times that I've seen them actually dragging a bat out from underneath a log, which was pretty impressive to see. And the way that they actually killed this bat was actually impressive. And I actually reckon that they're way more effective in killing than a pack of African wild dogs are. I just want to see if we can call them a little bit closer. Sometimes if we imitate their call, they'll come and have a look. However, if you can imitate a call and it's done by your voice, it's fine. But we should never be playing electronic methods or calls to actually attract animals and their attention. Let's see if they'll pop out again. There's one at the back that's just popping his head out, coming to have a little look to see where the call is coming from. One of the behaviors that I find particularly interesting about the dwarf mongoose is that, especially with a male, if he loses the dominant female, he will actually start noticing if there's a number of females that might be interested. And when the females start showing interest in them, they'll actually groom him. And depending on who can leave the most saliva on him, that will determine which female he's going to take out of that group as the next alpha female. See if we can just get another view of them. They're all hiding behind the logs now, but there's still a few of the little heads just popping out. In general, they're very cautious, and they've also actually been known to actually make use of a number of different bird species. There they are again. One of the bird species that they often associate with is the yellow and red-billed hornbills, and these will actually provide them an early alarm system, but also these little guys do a favor to the hornbills by disturbing insects while they're feeding. That's actually quite well documented that the hornbills will often go and wake them up in the morning just to give them a little nudge so that they can start feeding and that they can provide them with a potential meal opportunity. For me, this is definitely one of my 4 favorite animals to always find, and they're definitely the cutest of all the carnivores. At one point, one of the houses where I used to live, if I left my sliding door open, these guys would actually come in and they come and investigate and come and see what's going on inside the house. Come sniff around, come and have a look. Sometimes I also catch them that they will actually drag their bums on objects, what was inside the house. So that's one of the ways that they actually mark territories. We also find that they often mark by means of feces, and it's very likely that this little east-facing termite mound in front of us is covered with their feces. We're going to sit and watch them for a little bit longer and see what they get up to. But in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to the team in Ngala.
Fantastic. Welcome back again. One moment. Quickly go back. There's a tracker that I just saw. I just want to quickly. I'll quickly go back. I'm thinking it looks like a lion track. Just going to quickly show you now, right in front of the vehicle. I mean, one of the most important things before you climb out of the car out here, you need to look around and check, see if maybe these animals are not anywhere around here. But it looks quite clear. I'm going to quickly have a look at this track here. I don't know if you guys can see it right here. Quite a very large track. So right on the bottom of it, or the back of the pad, you'll notice there's 3 lobes, okay? And the toes are right in the front here. All right. You can see them. All right. So I was just trying to show you, but it looks like MPHO is saying that you can't see the track. But it's okay. So this animal looks like it's heading in that direction. Looks like a male lion. We'll quickly have a look more. All right, so I'm thinking this might be the one that I had, or the animal that we had last night, contact calling. So I'm thinking we're gonna reverse back and quickly have a look and see where these tracks are going, and we'll take it from there. All right, so this lion, or a lion that is walking here, was potentially patrolling last night and even looking for opportunities for food, but just looking at where he was walking, he was actually walking on the road. So, which actually makes me think he wasn't even hunting. He was just walking and patrolling, asserting his dominance around. But while we look for this animal, I'm gonna send you over to Pinda.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinda, everyone. I've just located the Nyoni female, and I just heard her calling now. Sounds like she's calling the cubs, and I heard them calling back. So I just want to quickly, slowly go around here. We can see her just lying in the bush there. Tell me when you can see her there. Have you got her? I don't want to go too close. Listen, listen. Oh, there you are. So obviously it's quite thick in here. I can't see her anymore. Can you still see her there?
Nope.
Sorry, I'm just trying to work out whether they maybe gone into the thicket here and just sat down, or whether... Can you hear that? I can hear just the squealing of a cub in the thicket here. Yeah, it's very, very faint, and it sounds like just like a high-pitched sound. I can see one. I can can see Mom. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can. Oh, there's the other cub. There's the other cub. There's the other cub. Just gonna go very, very, very slowly. See the one run off. I don't want to go any closer. You see Mom just lying here. I'm not going to go any closer now. We don't want to frighten these cubs. See Mom just lying. She's about a good safe distance away. A little bit to the left. Sorry, I know it's a very tough visual, but we don't want to disturb these cubs. But this is ridiculously exciting. I literally can't even... Okay, well, we're going to sit here and hope that they come out, and we're going to send you off to Trish.
Not too much has changed here, except that the males that the ram that's in charge was defending his herd from, those males have just moved a little bit further away. So things have calmed down a little bit. The ram, who is territorial in the middle of the herd there, he's not standing strong anymore. He's got his head down, he's relaxed, and he is eating. So things have definitely calmed down. It was so interesting to watch. I know not much happened when you were actually with us, but you could feel the, I don't know, the tension. Especially when that dominant ram was standing really, you know, between the herd and these other males. They're moving a little closer from behind the trees, but I don't think they'll make a move. You can see why this kind of situation is such a sort of easy picking situation for a leopard, because, or a lion, or wild dogs, any predators, because the animals are so focused on their social dynamics at the moment and how it's changing and what's happening. They're so focused on that they can sometimes forget about the fact that they've got to be safe and not on the usual high alert. It looks like things have calmed down. Most of those males actually have their heads turned away from the herd now. I love the color of this grass with the impala. It's such a beautiful sight. Also, it's nice to see so many of them and, you know, tight together. That was very cool. Their personalities are just, I love how they become so energetic and so cool to watch at this time. You really see the kind of spunk that's in them, not just these docile antelope that are on the plains all over the place. Okay, well, let's leave them. I just want to take a quick drive across there to where those other males were. Just want to see if the blind individual, or the one eye blind individual, if we can manage to get a look at him. Because it's really cool to see him in and amongst all of this and trying to fight for a bit of a territory of his own. And normally his territory is down there. This is why it's so cool. We can actually keep tabs on what's happening. Anyway, let me send you back over to Pinda. They're just around the corner, these guys.
Welcome back, everyone. We haven't had another view of the cubs just yet, but we can hear Mom every now and then. She'll try and call them. So we've actually just been sitting here quietly, just trying to see if they listen. Yeah, so I'm not too sure if you heard that. It was quite a soft one, but Mom was just briefly calling the cubs again, and I think she just wants them obviously closer to her, and we know that just by seeing how relaxed she is around the vehicles that the cubs are. Sorry if I stop speaking, it's just because he's calling the cubs. And I just want you guys to be able to hear that sound as well. See, she's continuously calling them. It's an amazing sound, and it's a sound that I'm not familiar with. Beautiful sound. Yeah, Darcy, it is so interesting, and it's actually a sound that I haven't ever heard before. There we go, she's getting up now. I'm not going to follow her. I'm just going to let her go towards her cubs. And I don't want her to feel under pressure or anything. Wow. Just going to sit here for a little while. can see her moving into a thick area. Obviously, if you crash over branches or anything, it's going to disturb her and the cubs, and we don't want to frighten off the cubs and make them nervous around vehicles. You can actually see her just poking her head through the bushes here. There, we can hear them again. This is so exciting. I really hope you can hear that, but I can hear the cubs calling back now. Johan, is there a tree in the way there?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to see.
Okay. Obviously, every time we start the engine, it might disturb them, so I don't want to move again. But we're just going to sit here for a while and just pray that they come out into a clearer area. But we're going to just, as I said, we're just going to sit here and hopefully they come out.
We all have a busy schedule and a lifestyle which is confined to stress and tensions. For so many of us, the hustle and bustle of a tedious life has meant we have lost our inner peace. Traveling is an ultimate remedy that lets us unwind and helps us experience peace in the lap of nature. Wild Earth encourages the benefits of travel by giving away an amazing prize every month.
I was totally overwhelmed to receive this fantastic prize of 3 nights at Chitwa. Wild Earth has been a lifesaver for us during the pandemic and has kept us sane. Thank you so very much, Wild Earth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
And I find getting out to a local royal park brings me so much closer to nature. I can leave my pain at home. And like watching Wild Earth, I find it's the most amazing way to step out of life's difficulties and just breathe.
The chirping and fluttering of these Java finches at the feeder in our garden helps us start each day joyfully in connection with nature.
So this is our piece of nature that we've been enjoying and has been keeping us sane during lockdown. This morning we have 8 oyster catchers on our beach, which is a real treat.
Hug a tree, Steve, just for you.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
We're at a different herd now. Also, quite a lot of action happening. In fact, a very similar situation. There's this ram that's in charge. He's just going... There he is. Mr. Boss Ram. And then at the end there, further off in the distance, it's a bachelor herd. Ready and waiting for their opportunity. to get this nice herd of females here. He's also been chasing quite a lot, but he's been chasing the females. So what he's going to try and do is keep the females within his territory, because as soon as they start to stray, it gives the other males an opportunity to take them. Watch him now. There's this female that strayed a little bit further than he wants. Yeah, move it back to the herd. There she comes, running back in. Hi Charlie, you'd like to know what's the biggest herd I've ever come across. There was one quite recently that was very large. It was actually out here on quarantine. Obviously a few of them had come together. Oh. Some action happening there. But I would say not 100. Maybe about 40 or 50 of them together. But not much bigger than that here. Not that I've seen, at least. No, obviously, they... Oh, hi, Steve. Getting home for breakfast. We'll be getting home to breakfast too. Very soon. Maybe Steve would like to compete for this herd too. Definitely distracted the Impala ram.
Good Darren.
There's Darren. There's Darren's face, everyone. Dovey loves doing that. He also loves to punch into my face when I'm doing something like this.
It's hilarious.
He finds it hilarious. Anyway, guys, back to the animals that matter. Oh, it seems that they've all been amused by our antics this morning too, so things have calmed down. But it's interesting to find that there's two different groups that were behaving in this way, so I hope this afternoon, when we're out, we'll be able to see some action too. Well, speaking of breakfast and this afternoon and all of that, it means that it's time to say goodbye, everyone. Thank you for your questions and your comments. It's a pleasure, as always,